The explosion tore through the diplomatic hall 3 seconds before anyone saw it coming. Caleb Grant didn't think. His body moved on instinct, years of combat drills overriding every logical thought. He saw the blast wave rippling through the air, saw the shrapnel spiraling toward the Zinthari delegation, saw Princess Valara standing frozen in her ceremonial robes. He launched himself across the marble floor. His shoulder hit her midsection hard enough to knock the air from both their lungs. They crashed behind a stone pillar as metal fragments shredded the space where she'd been standing. Heat washed over them. The sound hit like a physical force, rattling his teeth and crushing the air from the room. Caleb felt something punch into his back, then his ribs, then his thigh. Pain came later. Right now there was only the mission: protect the princess, keep her alive. The peace treaty between Earth and the Zinthari Empire depended on it. "Stay down," he growled, pressing her against the floor as secondary explosions ripped through the hall. Princess Valara's 4 eyes were wide with shock, her silver skin flushed deep violet. She tried to speak, but Caleb was already moving, scanning for threats, counting exits, calculating survival odds. They weren't good. Armed figures poured through the shattered entrance, not Zinthari, not human, something else entirely. Their armor was black and segmented, their weapons humming with energy that made Caleb's skin crawl. "Throne room," Valara gasped. "We must reach my mother." Caleb hauled her upright. Blood ran hot down his back, but he ignored it. His sidearm was already in his hand, though he couldn't remember drawing it. Muscle memory. Training. The things that kept soldiers alive when everything went to hell. He fired twice. 2 attackers dropped. They ran. The palace corridors blurred past. More explosions shook the foundations. Screams echoed from every direction. Caleb's tactical implant fed him data, none of it good. The entire compound was under siege. Communications were jammed. Reinforcements were 20 minutes out. They had maybe 5. Princess Valara stumbled. Caleb caught her, nearly went down himself as pain lanced through his leg. The shrapnel was deep. He could feel it grinding against bone with every step. "Leave me," Valara said. Her translator implant made her voice sound almost human. Almost. "You're injured. Save yourself." "Not happening, Your Highness." They burst into the throne room together. Queen Ishara stood at the center, surrounded by her personal guard. She was magnificent and terrifying, 8 feet tall, with crowned spines that glowed with bioluminescent fury. Her gaze locked onto Caleb, then her daughter, then the blood soaking through his uniform. "The human shielded you," the queen said. It wasn't a question. Valara nodded, breathless. "He took the blast meant for me." The queen's expression shifted into something Caleb couldn't read, but her 4 eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made him want to step back. He didn't. Outside, the battle raged closer. Queen Ishara raised one clawed hand. The gesture silenced even the distant explosions. "Then the human has earned what comes next." The queen's guard parted like a curtain of living steel. Queen Ishara descended from her throne with movements that seemed to defy gravity, each step precise and deliberate. Caleb's combat instincts screamed at him to move, to act, but something in the queen's bearing kept him rooted in place. "You are bleeding onto sacred ground, human," she said. "Apologies, Your Majesty." Caleb swayed but forced himself upright. "Didn't mean to be rude." The faintest flicker crossed her face. Amusement, maybe, or contempt. Hard to tell with Zinthari expressions. "Mother." Valara stepped forward. "The attackers are Krell separatists. They're trying to collapse the peace treaty by eliminating our delegation." "I am aware." The queen's crown spines pulsed brighter. "What I am not aware of is why a human security officer would sacrifice himself for Zinthari royalty when his own species has spent 3 years negotiating from a position of fear." Caleb met her gaze despite the pain turning his vision white at the edges. "Because that's what soldiers do, Your Majesty. We protect people who can't protect themselves." "Cannot?" The queen's voice dropped to something dangerous. "You believe my daughter weak? I believe she's a diplomat, not a warrior. There's a difference." The throne room shuddered. Plasma fire scorched the outer walls. The Krell were pushing through the palace defenses faster than expected. Caleb's tactical readout showed hostile signatures flooding every corridor. They had maybe 2 minutes before this room became a kill box. "Your Majesty, with respect, we need to evacuate now." Queen Ishara turned to her captain of the guard. Status: the Krell have breached sectors 4 through 9. They have heavy armor and null-field generators. Our energy weapons are useless against them. The captain's voice remained steady, but Caleb caught the tension underneath. They are specifically targeting the human delegation and the royal family. Then they want to ensure the treaty dies today. The Queen looked at Caleb again. How many humans remain alive in this compound? Caleb checked his tactical link. The answer made his stomach drop. 17. Down from 42. And you are their ranking officer? No, ma'am. I'm just security detail. Ambassador Crawford is in the East Wing with the primary team. The East Wing no longer exists, the captain said flatly. It collapsed 4 minutes ago. Caleb felt the words like another piece of shrapnel. Crawford, Lieutenant Hayes, Corporal Yen, all gone. Just like that. Then you are the ranking human, Queen Ishara stated, which means you speak for your species in this moment. I'm not qualified to... You threw yourself onto an explosive device to save my daughter. You are bleeding from 7 separate wounds and remain standing. You are more qualified than any soft diplomat who died behind reinforced walls. Her crown spines flared brighter. So I ask you now, human, do you believe our species can truly forge peace? Or was this treaty merely Earth's attempt to delay inevitable conflict? The question hung in the air between explosions. Caleb thought about the briefings, the political maneuvering, the fear that drove every negotiation. Humanity was outmatched in every way except stubbornness and desperation. The Zinthari Empire spanned 40 systems. Earth barely controlled its own solar neighborhood. But he also thought about Vilara's expression when he'd covered her body with his own. The same terror any human would feel facing sudden death, the same relief at surviving. I think we're more alike than different, Your Majesty. I think we both bleed. We both fear. We both love our families enough to die for them. He gestured at the burning palace around them. And I think the Krell are counting on us to fail. They want us to turn on each other so they can pick apart what's left. The Queen studied him with all 4 eyes. You speak truth even while dying. Remarkable. She turned sharply. Captain, execute Contingency Protocol 7. We are relocating to the deep vaults. Your Majesty, the vaults were designed for Zinthari biology. The human will not survive the pressure differential. Then modify the protocol. I will not permit this human to die after his sacrifice. Queen Ishara's voice carried absolute authority. And summon what remains of the human security forces. If we are to survive this day, we survive together. Vilara moved to Caleb's side as his leg finally gave out. She caught him with surprising strength. You are either very brave or very foolish, she whispered. Little of both, probably. Caleb's vision was starting to blur. Blood loss. Shock. All the things adrenaline had been holding back. The Queen's Guard formed a protective square around them. The captain barked orders in rapid Zinthari. Then they were moving, deeper into the palace, away from the sounds of battle, but toward something Caleb suspected might be worse. He'd just committed humanity to an alliance sealed in blood and desperation. He really hoped he hadn't just doomed his entire species. The descent into the deep vaults felt like falling into the planet's core. Emergency lighting cast everything in crimson shadows. Caleb counted steps to stay conscious. 47, 62, 98. Then he lost track. His tactical display flickered and died. Too much interference from the vault's shielding. He was blind now except for what his own eyes could see, and even those were getting unreliable. Pressure equalization in 30 seconds, the captain announced. All personnel brace for transition. Caleb had no idea what that meant until the air suddenly felt like it was crushing him from all sides. His ears popped. His vision went dark at the edges. He gasped and tasted copper. Princess Vilara's hand tightened on his arm. Breathe slowly. Your lungs are adapting. Adapting to what? 3 times your standard atmospheric pressure. The vaults exist in conditions similar to our homeworld. She paused. Most humans cannot survive here for more than minutes. Great. Love that for me. The pressure stabilized. Caleb's lungs burned, but he could breathe. Barely. Each inhalation felt like lifting weights with his chest. They emerged into a massive chamber carved from living rock. Bioluminescent crystals grew from the walls in geometric patterns, pulsing with soft blue light. Equipment hummed with power. This wasn't just a bunker. This was a command center. Queen Ashara moved to a crystalline console and placed both hands against it. The entire chamber responded, displays materializing in the air as holographic projections. "Show me everything," she commanded. The tactical situation appeared in 3 dimensions. The palace above was marked in red. Krell forces had completely surrounded it. But they weren't advancing into the lower levels. They were holding position. "They are waiting," the captain observed. "For what?" Villara asked. Caleb knew the answer before anyone spoke. Reinforcements. They want to make sure nothing escapes. He forced himself upright, despite the pressure trying to crush him flat. "Your Majesty, do you have communications capability from here?" "Limited. The Krell jamming is sophisticated but not perfect. Then we need to get a message out. To my people. To yours. Anyone who can bring firepower." Queen Ashara's expression darkened. "And tell them what? That we are trapped like prey animals while our would-be alliance burns above our heads? Tell them we're still alive. Tell them the treaty stands." Caleb's legs shook, but he stayed upright through sheer stubbornness. "Tell them if they want peace, now's the time to prove it matters more than politics." The Queen studied him with an intensity that made Caleb feel like she was reading every thought in his head. "You truly believe this, human? Even now, I believe giving up means the Krell win. And I'm really not interested in letting that happen." A low sound rumbled through the chamber. It took Caleb a moment to realize it was laughter. Queen Ashara was actually laughing. "The human bleeds onto my sacred vaults and lectures me about perseverance. The galaxy has become strange indeed." She turned back to the console. "Captain, establish quantum link communications. Broadcast on all diplomatic frequencies. Let us see who answers our call for aid." The captain hesitated. "Your Majesty, if we broadcast our position, the Krell already know where we are. They are simply deciding how to extract us without damaging whatever they hope to salvage." Her crown spines flared brighter. "We will not wait for their decision. We force their hand." Caleb's tactical training kicked in despite the pain and pressure. "We need to buy time." "How many access points to these vaults?" 7 primary entrances, 43 secondary ventilation shafts, all designed for Zinthari dimensions, so nothing bigger than your people can fit through." "Correct. Then we seal everything except one entrance. Funnel them into a kill zone. Make them pay for every meter." Caleb looked at the remaining guards. 12 Zinthari warriors in ceremonial armor that probably had more defensive capability than anything in Earth's military arsenal. "How long can your people hold a choke point against Krell heavy armor?" The captain's expression shifted into something that might have been respect. "With proper positioning?" "Long enough, Your Majesty," one of the guards interrupted. "We have incoming signals, multiple sources." The holographic display shifted. New markers appeared across the tactical map. Ships, dozens of them, dropping out of faster-than-light transit in high orbit. Villara gasped. "That's the Third Fleet. Mother, you called the Third Fleet?" "I called no one." "We have not had time." Queen Ashara's 4 eyes narrowed at the display. These ships responded on their own initiative. The communications console crackled to life. Multiple voices overlapped, speaking in Zinthari and human languages both. "This is Zinthari battlecruiser Crimson Mandate. We received distress signals from the palace, moving to engage hostile forces. Earth frigate Tenacity requesting permission to enter Zinthari airspace. We have reports of human casualties and are prepared to extract survivors. Mining Guild Transport 17 acknowledging emergency broadcast. We are armed and willing to assist." More voices. Warships, species Caleb didn't even recognize, announcing their presence and offering support. Queen Ashara stood perfectly still. For the first time since Caleb had met her, she looked genuinely surprised. "They came," Villara whispered. "All of them." Without orders. Without authorization. "Because the treaty matters," Caleb said. His vision was fading again, but he smiled anyway. "Turns out people actually want peace, Your Majesty. They just needed someone to show them it was worth fighting for." The Queen turned to face him. Her expression was unreadable, but her crown spines pulsed with colors Caleb had never seen before. You are a strange creature, human. Fragile. Reckless. Idealistic to the point of foolishness. She paused. But perhaps that is precisely what this galaxy needs. The palace above them shook with new explosions. But these weren't Krell weapons. The orbital bombardment had begun. The Allied fleet was engaging. Caleb finally let himself collapse against the wall. His job was done. He'd kept the princess alive. He'd bought enough time for help to arrive. Everything after this was just bonus time. The orbital bombardment turned the sky above into a light show that would have been beautiful if it wasn't also deadly. Caleb watched through the vault's sensor feeds as Krell positions evaporated under coordinated fire from ships that had no business working together. Xanthari cruisers moved with predatory grace. Human frigates compensated for smaller size with sheer aggressive maneuvering. The mining guild transports proved surprisingly well-armed for civilian vessels. Together they carved through Krell defenses like a hot blade through frozen atmosphere. Krell ground forces are retreating, the captain reported. They're falling back to their dropships. Don't let them leave, Queen Ishara ordered. I want prisoners. I want answers. I want to know who funded this attack and why. Caleb's earpiece crackled to life. His own communications had been patched into the vault systems. A familiar voice cut through the static. This is Lieutenant Chen aboard the Tenacity. We're reading 17 human biosigs in the compound. Caleb, if you can hear this, we're coming for you. He tried to respond, but his throat was too dry. Villara saw him struggling and helped him access the communications panel. Chen, it's Gret. We're in the deep vaults with Queen Ishara and Princess Villara. Palace above is compromised, but we're secure for now. Copy that. Grant, your vital signs are terrible. Medical teams are prepping for emergency extraction. Negative. Can't evacuate yet. Still have a job to do. Your job was keeping the princess alive. Mission accomplished. Now let us bring you home. Caleb looked at Queen Ishara. She was coordinating the orbital assault with her commanders, directing fire with precision that came from centuries of military tradition. But she was also listening to his conversation. Her attention was split but focused on him. Chen, the treaty signing was supposed to happen today. We're not leaving until it does. Silence on the other end. Then Chen's voice came back quieter. Grant, you're talking about conducting a diplomatic ceremony in the middle of an active war zone while bleeding out from multiple wounds. Sounds about right, yeah? You've lost your mind. Probably, but think about it. The Krell wanted to stop this treaty by making both sides look weak. They wanted us to scatter and hide and prove we couldn't protect each other. Caleb forced himself to stand straighter despite the crushing pressure. We show them they failed. We sign the treaty right now. Today. With the fire still burning, we make it mean something. Queen Ishara's crown spines pulsed rapidly, the Xanthari equivalent of surprise mixed with calculation. She was considering it. The human is correct, she said loudly enough for all her commanders to hear. We will not cower in vaults while our enemies dictate terms. We will complete what we came here to accomplish. Your Majesty, the captain protested, the structural integrity of the ceremonial hall is compromised. The palace itself may collapse. Then we hold the ceremony here, in the vaults. Let it be remembered that peace was forged in the deepest darkness while chaos reigned above. She turned to Caleb. But you are dying, human. Your species cannot survive these conditions much longer. I'll survive long enough. Your confidence exceeds your biology. Story of humanity right there, Your Majesty. That rumbling laugh again. The Queen gestured, and her guards moved immediately, clearing space in the center of the vault. Others retrieved items from secured chambers. Within minutes, they had assembled something that resembled a ceremonial space, complete with the treaty documents stored in protective cases. The communications channels filled with activity as word spread. The battle above continued, but ships began repositioning, creating a perimeter, protecting this moment. Ambassador Wei appeared on the holographic display, transmitted from the Tenacity. She looked haggard but determined. Your Majesty, I am told we are proceeding with the signing despite current circumstances. We are, Queen Ishara confirmed. Unless Earth wishes to withdraw? Absolutely not. We've lost too many people today to let their sacrifice mean nothing. Wei's expression hardened, but I need confirmation that this is what humanity's remaining representative wants. Grant, This is your call. You're the ranking human on the ground." Caleb almost laughed. Ranking officer by virtue of being the last one standing. The absurdity was perfect. "We sign it, Ambassador. Right here, right now. We show the whole galaxy that this matters more than fear." Wei nodded slowly. "Then, as acting ambassador, I formally accept these terms on behalf of Earth and all her territories." Queen Ishara placed one clawed hand on the treaty document. The paper looked impossibly fragile under her touch. "And I, Queen Ishara of the Centauri Empire, accept these terms on behalf of my people and our 40 systems." Velara stepped forward. Protocol dictated she witness and seal the agreement with her own mark. Her hands trembled slightly as she added her signature beside her mother's. Then they looked at Caleb. "You need to sign as well," Queen Ishara said, "as witness and guarantor of humanity's commitment." "Ma'am, I'm not a diplomat. You are the human who took a blast meant for my daughter. You are the human who stood before me and spoke of unity while your blood stained sacred ground. You are the human who convinced me that your species deserves a place among the stars." Her 4 eyes locked onto his. "You will sign this treaty, or it means nothing." Caleb's hand shook as he reached for the stylus. Blood smeared the instrument, but he managed to scrawl his name beneath the official seals and signatures. His handwriting looked terrible next to the elegant marks of queens and ambassadors, but it was done. The treaty was signed. Peace purchased with blood and defiance became real. Above them, the Krell forces broke completely. Their remaining ships jumped to faster-than-light speeds, abandoning their ground troops to capture or death. The Allied fleet held position, maintaining the perimeter around the planet. Caleb felt his legs give out. This time he didn't fight it. He slid down the wall and sat heavily on the vault floor. His vision was going dark again. The pressure was too much. His body had finally reached its limits. Velara was beside him instantly. "Medical teams are entering the vaults now. You need to hold on just a little longer." "Did we win?" His voice sounded distant even to his own ears. "Yes, we won." "That's good." Queen Ishara stood over him, backlit by bioluminescent crystals. She looked like something from ancient mythology, terrible and magnificent. "You will survive this, human. I've decided it is so." Caleb wanted to laugh, but didn't have the energy. "Pretty sure biology doesn't work that way, Your Majesty." "Then your biology will learn." Darkness crept in from the edges, but Caleb heard voices, human and Zinthari both, medical personnel rushing into the vaults, equipment being deployed, orders being shouted in multiple languages. He'd done it, kept the princess alive, secured the treaty, proved that humanity deserved its place at the table. Everything else was just details. Caleb woke to white light and the smell of antiseptic. His first thought was that he'd died, and this was whatever came after. His second thought was that the afterlife had terrible lighting design. "He's awake," a voice said. Human. Female. Familiar? Lieutenant Chen's face appeared above him. She looked exhausted but relieved. "Welcome back, Grant. You've been out for 3 days." Caleb tried to speak, but his throat felt like sandpaper. Chen held a cup of water to his lips, and he drank carefully. "Where am I? Medical babe or the tenacity?" "We evacuated you from the vaults once the Zinthri medics stabilized you enough for transport." She checked a display beside his bed. "You had 7 pieces of shrapnel removed, 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and severe atmospheric pressure trauma. The doctors said you should be dead 5 times over." "Disappointed them, I guess. You're an idiot is what you are." But Chen was smiling. "You know what happened after you passed out?" Caleb shook his head slightly. "Moving hurt. Queen Ishara personally carried you to the medical teams." A Zinthari queen, carrying a human soldier. Carrying a human soldier. The footage went viral across 40 systems within hours. Chen pulled up a holographic display. "You're famous, Grant. They're calling you the Shield of Peace. There are already 3 documentary crews requesting interviews. That's horrifying." It gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. The treaty signing became the most watched event in galactic history. Billions of beings saw you sign that document while barely conscious. Saw the Queen declare that humanity had proven itself worthy of alliance. Chen's expression turned serious. Everything changed in those few hours. The political landscape shifted completely. The Krell scattered. Their leadership is claiming the attack was unauthorized, conducted by rogue elements. Nobody believes them, but it gives everyone diplomatic cover to avoid open war. She paused. We captured 17 Krell soldiers. They're being interrogated now. Preliminary reports suggest this was funded by multiple factions who wanted to prevent the treaty. They failed. Spectacularly. Chen sat on the edge of his bed. Grant, you need to know something. Earth Command wants to promote you. Give you a medal. Make you the poster boy for human-Synthari cooperation. I just want to sleep for a month and maybe never get shot at again. Yeah, well, you don't get that option anymore. You're too important now. A soft chime interrupted them. The door to the medical bay opened, and Princess Valara entered. She wore simpler robes than before, but still moved with unmistakable royal bearing. 2 guards flanked her, keeping a respectful distance. Chen stood immediately and saluted. Valara waved her off. Please, Lieutenant. We are beyond such formality after recent events. Her 4 eyes focused on Caleb. I wish to see how you were recovering. Still breathing, Your Highness. That's something. Indeed, she moved closer. Her skin had returned to its normal silver tone instead of the violet flush of fear. I wanted to thank you properly. What you did in that hall, the sacrifice you made, it saved my life. There are no words adequate in either of our languages. You don't need to thank me. I was just doing my job. Your job was to provide security presence at a diplomatic function. Your job did not require throwing yourself onto explosive devices. Her voice carried an edge of something almost like anger. You could have escaped. You could have prioritized your own survival. Instead, you chose to protect someone from a species you barely knew. Caleb met her gaze. Your Highness, with respect, I knew enough. Well, I knew you were important. I knew your death would have meant war. And I knew that sometimes the right choice is the one that hurts. Valara was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached into her robes and produced a small crystalline object. It pulsed with soft blue light, similar to the bioluminescent crystals in the vaults. This is a memory stone. In Synthari culture, we give them to those who have earned a debt that can never be repaid. It contains a fragment of my own memories of that day, what I felt, what I saw, what your sacrifice meant. She placed it in his hand. The crystal was warm to the touch. When you are stronger, you may access these memories if you wish, or you may keep it sealed. The choice is yours. I don't know what to say. Say nothing. Simply accept that you have changed the course of history through a single act of selfless courage. Valara stepped back. If my mother wishes to speak with you as well when you are recovered enough, she has questions about humanity that only you can answer, apparently. That's terrifying. Yes. She has that effect. A hint of humor crossed Valara's expression. Rest now, Caleb Grant. You have earned it. She left with her guards, following silently. Chen waited until the door closed before speaking. You're holding a memory stone from a Synthari princess. Do you have any idea how significant that is? I'm guessing very. Try unprecedented in the entire history of human Synthari contact. Those things are sacred. They're never given to outsiders. Chen shook her head in amazement. Grant, you didn't just save her life, you earned her respect. Maybe her friendship. That's huge politically. Caleb looked at the crystal in his hand. The light pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. I just wanted to do the right thing, Chen. I didn't think about politics or history or any of that. I know. That's probably why it worked. Chen stood and checked her data pad. I need to brief command on your status. Try not to do anything heroic while I'm gone. No promises. She left him alone with his thoughts and the softly glowing crystal. Caleb closed his eyes and tried to process everything that had happened. 3 days ago, he'd been a security officer assigned to what should have been a routine diplomatic function. Now he was apparently famous across multiple star systems and holding a sacred artifact from alien royalty. The galaxy had gotten very strange very quickly. His communicator buzzed. A message from Earth Command. Official commendation. Promotion to captain. Assignment as liaison officer to the Synthari Diplomatic Corps. Mandatory attendance at next month's formal ratification ceremony. Caleb groaned. He really did just want to sleep for a month. But as he looked at the memory stone, feeling its warmth against his palm, he couldn't help but think maybe it had all been worth it. The pain, the fear, the near-death experience. If it meant peace had a chance, if it meant humanity and the Xinthari could build something better together, then maybe getting blown up wasn't the worst way to spend a Tuesday. His body disagreed strongly with that assessment, but his conscience was clear, and for a soldier that was worth more than any medal. 2 weeks later, Caleb stood in the Grand Assembly Hall on the Xinthari homeworld. His dress uniform felt stiff and uncomfortable, but at least nothing was actively trying to kill him. Progress. The hall was filled with representatives from dozens of species. Humans mingled awkwardly with Xinthari nobles. Mining guild delegates argued loudly with trade consortium officials. Diplomats from systems Caleb had never heard of occupied seats arranged in ascending circles around a central platform. This was the formal ratification, the moment when the treaty moved from emergency agreement to binding galactic law. "You look nervous," Chen said beside him. She'd been assigned as his assistant, which mostly meant keeping him from embarrassing himself in front of alien dignitaries. "I'm always nervous when I'm not being shot at. At least combat makes sense. You'll be fine. Just stand there and look heroic. The galaxy expects it now." The ceremony began with traditional Xinthari music that sounded like crystals singing. Then came speeches. Ambassador Wei spoke about humanity's hope for peaceful coexistence. A Xinthari elder discussed the importance of recognizing strength in unexpected forms. Others added their voices, building a narrative of cooperation and shared future. Caleb tried to pay attention, but his mind wandered. He thought about the people who hadn't survived the attack. Crawford, Hayes, Yen, dozens of others whose names he'd memorized from the casualty reports. They deserved to be here more than he did. Caleb Grant, Queen Ishara's voice pulled him back to the present. She stood on the central platform, magnificent in full ceremonial regalia. "Approach." Chen gave him a small push. Caleb walked forward, conscious of thousands of eyes watching his every step. He stopped at the base of the platform and executed what he hoped was a proper bow. "You have been called here today not as a soldier, but as a symbol," the Queen began. Her voice carried throughout the hall without amplification. "You represent the best of what Alliance can achieve. Courage without hesitation, sacrifice without expectation of reward. Honor that transcends species and culture." She descended from the platform and stood directly before him. Up close, her presence was overwhelming, power and authority radiating from every movement. "When my daughter faced death, you did not calculate political advantage. You did not weigh the cost against potential benefit. You simply acted to preserve life." Her crown spines glowed brilliant gold. That purity of purpose is rare in this cynical galaxy. It must be recognized and honored. She produced a medallion wrought from some dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Intricate patterns covered its surface, telling stories in a language Caleb couldn't read. This is the Star of Unity. It has been awarded only 7 times in Xinthari history, always to those who bridge impossible divides. She placed it around his neck. The medallion was surprisingly heavy. "You are the first human to receive this honor. You will not be the last, but you will always be remembered as the one who showed us that humanity deserves to walk among the stars as equals." The hall erupted in sounds Caleb assumed were applause. Different species expressed approval in wildly different ways. The noise was overwhelming. Queen Ishara wasn't finished. "Furthermore, I am establishing a new position within the Xinthari Diplomatic Corps, the Office of Human Integration, tasked with ensuring our species learn to work together effectively. You, Caleb Grant, will lead this office with full authority to act in both our names." Caleb's mind went blank. "Your Majesty, I'm not qualified for—" "You are the most qualified person in existence. You have proven that humanity and Xinthari can trust each other with our very lives. Everything else can be learned." Her expression softened slightly. "Unless you wish to refuse, I will not force this burden upon you." He thought about saying no, about going back to simple security work, where the worst thing that happened was standing guard at boring functions. It would be easier, safer, infinitely less complicated. But he looked out at the assembled representatives, saw humans and Xinthari standing side by side, saw species from across the galaxy witnessing this moment of unity forged from chaos and blood. If he walked away now, what message would that send? "I accept, Your Majesty. I'll do my best to honor the trust you're placing in me. I know you will." Queen Ishara turned to address the full assembly. Let this day mark the beginning of a new era. Let those who would divide us through violence and fear know that they have failed. We are stronger together than we ever were apart. The ratification proceeded with formal votes and ceremonial seals. Every species present affirmed the treaty. It became law, binding and unbreakable by all agreed standards of galactic civilization. Afterward, Caleb found himself surrounded by well-wishers and petitioners. Everyone wanted to shake his hand or exchange whatever gesture their species used for greeting. It was exhausting and exhilarating in equal measure. Princess Valara appeared through the crowd. She'd been busy with her own ceremonial duties, but had found time to seek him out. "Congratulations on your appointment," she said, "though I suspect you are already regretting accepting." "Little bit, yeah." "You will adapt. Humans seem remarkably good at that." She paused. "I wanted you to know that I accessed the memory stone, the one I gave you." "Oh?" "I wanted to see what you experienced from your perspective. What drove you to act as you did?" Her silver skin flushed slightly violet. "It was illuminating. Your mind works very differently from ours. So much chaos and instinct, yet focused with absolute clarity in the moment of crisis. We're pretty good at controlled panic. More than that, you saw a problem and solved it without any of the deliberation that would have paralyzed my people. No weighing of consequences or calculation of optimal outcomes, just immediate, decisive action." She met his gaze with all four eyes. "That is humanity's greatest strength. The ability to act when action is needed, regardless of personal cost. It's also our greatest weakness. We don't always think things through. Perhaps. But in that hall, hesitation would have meant my death. Your recklessness saved my life." Valara smiled, an expression she'd clearly been practicing for human interaction. "I look forward to working with you in your new position. Together, we will build something neither of our species could achieve alone. No pressure, then. Enormous pressure, actually, but I believe you thrive under such conditions." She moved on to other obligations, leaving Caleb with Chen once again. "So," Chen said carefully, "Director of Human Integration. That's quite a promotion from security detail." "I have no idea what I'm doing, Chen." "Good. That means you won't get overconfident." She grinned. "Besides, you've got me to keep you from screwing up too badly. You're staying on as my assistant? Someone has to. Can't have you starting an interstellar incident by using the wrong fork at diplomatic dinners." Caleb looked around the Grand Assembly Hall at the impossible gathering of species united by treaty and shared purpose, at the future taking shape before his eyes. It was terrifying and magnificent and completely beyond anything he'd imagined when he signed up for military service. But somewhere in the chaos between the fear and the wonder, he felt something unexpected. Hope. Real hope that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy was ready for something better than endless conflict and suspicion. That humanity and the Synthari and everyone else could actually build a lasting peace. It wouldn't be easy. There would be setbacks and struggles and moments when everything seemed ready to collapse. But they'd proven it was possible. They'd signed a treaty in blood and fire and made it stick. Everything else was just details. Caleb touched the medallion around his neck, feeling its weight. The Star of Unity. Symbol of impossible bridges built through courage and sacrifice. He'd earned it the hard way. Now he just had to live up to it. The galaxy was watching. Time to show them what humanity could really do.